So I'm joined here with Vicki Pavlish, and she tuned me into the fact that she was analyzing blood under a specialized microscope, and she uses this for her business. She's using this for her patients to show when blood doesn't look healthy and when blood does look healthier, and what you can do to get there. And she said, "Hey, I can do this with what you're doing, and you did it with a mini treatment I did on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, in a recorded format. Is that correct?"
Yes.
And you're like, "Hey, I did it before and after that, and the blood work was different." I'm like, "What?" And then you showed it to me, and I was pleasantly surprised. And then I was like, "Hey, could we do this with a treatment?" So we did a full treatment, and she took the blood work before and afterwards, and she's here today to show us what that looks like, and also how she uses this in her practice, and just what healthy blood and not so healthy blood looks like. And she has slides to share with us on our share screen here on Zoom. So Vicki, take it away.
Well, thank you for the introduction. I have a business of this enhanced health, and I educate people with live blood analysis to be able to show them what is going inside on a cellular level, from digestion to chronic digestion or indigestion, from nutritional balances to bacteria and fungus, and how their immunity is working. So we can have change from lifestyle to environment and things that we're eating to have a better cellular health, because everything comes down to how our cells are going to respond, and the energy within, because our cells are made of a phospholipid layer, two types of fats, and it's also what we call zeta potential, whether they come together or come, operate apart. And it's a positive, negative, in our cells. So with that, it's energy. So that's why it was really interesting to see the energy work and in response to how the cells respond to that. So I will show you before.
Yeah, because when you say, they come together, they come apart, you're meaning the cells themselves, right? And you're getting ready to
Yes,
show us that right here. Okay.
and certain things can make them. They're made out of positive and negative ions, and the more positive ions you have, the more closer they become, and they can be aggregated together. So this was before the treatment that Keith did for me. You can see the cells are round, but they're together. They're just not free floating, and that integrity of the cell is very important, and to be individual and floating, where these here, and I know my blood, are definitely together. See how you can see them aggregating a little bit here. And when they do that, that's less oxygen that's going to reach your organ systems and everything, the brain, all your organs. So you want to have oxygen flowing. In some ways, food obviously makes a difference, but there's a lot more to that, as you know, because it comes to energy. Usually you'll have more positive ions when it's misshaped, as opposed to negative ions. And
So we
so,
definitely want a negative ionic overall state. That's the ideal.
yes, yep. So this was all before, and then you did my wonderful treatment, and it was amazing. I did feel a few things we did discuss from that, but let's see here. So this is after the treatment, and you can see the cells are individual. They're free floating, and even the matrix looks better, but different areas are going to show different things. But the cells themselves now have great zeta potential, right? They
And
have
what does zeta potential mean again?
if you have poor zeta potential, that's more positive ions. If you have normal zeta potential, you're going to have negative ions in balance, and this is what it's going to look like. So you're getting the right amount of energy to keep these cells apart. So your zeta potential is great.
So now more oxygenation with with all the blood cells.
Yep.
And I would assume that cleanup, since the matrix looks so much clearer, that cleanup happens more easily.
Ideally, yes, because it's the toxins that are involved, and the cells are going to respond to their environment. Now, I could show you this other. I'm going to stop sharing again and redo it for
Sure.
another screen, for another slide.
And what was the time spent again between that first set of aggregated blood showing and then post treatment?
It was right after.
So about an hour, around 60 minutes.
Um, yeah, you did about 45, 50,
Okay.
something like that.
But yeah, you got a new one up there, and this one's wow, this one's interesting. You've got some different features that we saw on the previous slides.
Yep, the cells are still apart. I mean, they're flying perfectly. Now these other areas that they look empty, the one to the right, it's an
Mm-hmm.
empty white blood cell, meaning there's also some stress in my system, whether it be physical, emotional, maybe some, in some cases, a lot of sugars and carbs are going to reduce the immunity of things. So you'll have an empty white blood cell. And then this one's kind of empty with a little bit of, it's slowly getting empty, same type of thing.
Okay.
With a white blood cell. White blood cells are good for our immunity. They fight, viruses off. They're our first contenders to things. And there's different kinds of white blood cells. Let me see this one. So with this too, these are all 4 different images I took around the sample, and all my cells are apart. So when you're talking originally like this, let me see if I can get back. On here. You can see the
Oh
difference.
yeah. In fact, you've got them close enough to each other that you can see almost a side by side.
Right. So these are all apart. I mean, there's oxygen getting to these. So even with qigong, when I was doing those, this it was amazing. Separate right after qigong. So again, you're using your energy, and what you do is amazing because this is proof. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is what's great, and to let everybody know, I mean, we're talking about, 40, 45, 50, 60 minutes later. And when Vicky's doing a Qigong form by herself, that's 20 minutes tops. And it changes her blood work. So as I keep telling everybody over and over and over and over again, yes, our science has given us so much insight into who we are biochemically. Amazing what we know now, opposed to just 25, 30, 40 years ago even. At that same time of saying that, I also have to say that the energetic side of things, the bioenergetic side of things, is so very important. And in particular, the thing that's even overlooked in the bioenergetics community, which is the cultivation of life force. And there's so much intelligence in the life force. It's not like just giving the body more gasoline and now her cells are apart and aren't clumping together anymore. There's intelligence that the body is imbued with naturally, and then is brought even more to the table of that intelligence by the cultivation of life force. Yep. Thank you very much, Vicki. I really appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.